Baseball is back, and as the club begins the second half of the season, the Orioles hold a 2-game lead in the AL East. And of course, they continue to play outstanding defense, and now the O's look to put it all together for a run at the playoffs. The first half of the season also showcased those big bats. 137 home runs lead all of baseball, and a big reason why the O's are in first place. So buckle up. The second half begins. Up next, it's the O's and Rays on MASN. It's the Orioles on MASN on a lovely day in St. Petersburg. We are inside the Dome at Tropicana Field. It's the Orioles and Rays, the opening game of this 3-game weekend series. And hi, everyone. I'm Jim Hunter. The Orioles get back at it tonight after the All-Star break, and they were able to enjoy their 4 days off as a first-place team in the AL East. Things went very well for the Orioles in the first half, and as play begins tonight, they maintain a 2-game lead over both Boston and Toronto. And when you look at the numbers, you can see why the Orioles took control and held on to the division. 51-36 overall lead the AL East. They are 23-13 within the division. That is the best record of any team against division opponents. Of course, 137 home runs leads all of Major League Baseball. They're second in the AL East in runs per game, and they're second in the division in overall ERA at 4.35. Now, Mike Bordick, obviously there's a long way to go. We begin the second half tonight. 41 more games, in fact, against division opponents. But the Orioles did what the other 4 teams could not do, get control of the division heading into the second half.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great sign for the Orioles, of course. And, you know, there were a lot of worries coming out of spring training. Primarily the starting rotation, and the concerns are still there, and they're true, but they're going to try to do some different things. I think we're going to see the piggyback here coming up in the second half of the season. Dylan Bundy's getting the start on Sunday, so that's proof of that move right there. You don't know if the Orioles are going to go out and test the market, try to land another starting pitcher, or maybe a piece for the bullpen. Who knows what they're thinking about, but the offense for sure will be there. I mean, this team is full of power hitters. They're starting to get on base. The young guys, Jonathan Schoop, he's almost at a career high in walks. Manny Machado's been outstanding. And, of course, they live on the long ball. So the offense will be there, the runs, but it's going to come down to the pitching like it always does.
Yeah, and you mentioned it. The starting pitching certainly will be the difference over the second half of the year. And if the Orioles can make the playoffs, that all begins tonight at a big, big start for Yovani Gallardo.
Well, it sure is, and I think he is going to be key for the second half of this Baltimore Orioles team. Gallardo really started to step up after his injury. Had a shoulder problem, some tendonitis there, but he started to work to the middle part of ball games. He was working all 4 corners of the plate with all of his offerings. He's getting aided by his defense, and I think that's an important thing to pay attention to. Gallardo's got to be more efficient, maybe get a little deeper in ball games. He's getting up over close to 100 pitches in the middle of the ball game, but you see the defense right there helping him out behind him. Be more aggressive in the strike zone, limit your pitches, and trust this defense. They are on top of their game right now. Adam Jones is back to playing the Gold Glove caliber center field. They have Hardy back in the middle of the infield, so that solidifies the defense on the infield. This team is playing their best baseball we have seen, and they're a well-rounded team, and they need to continue that here in the second half.
So it begins tonight, the opening game against 3 against the Tampa Bay Rays. When we come back, we'll visit with the newest Oriole left-handed reliever, Donnie Hardy. Is brought to you by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. There's the Rays tank in deep right center field here at Tropicana Field. Orioles and Rays beginning a three-game weekend series. And here's the newest addition to the club. Donnie Hart has been called up from Double-A Bowie to join the bullpen. He gives the Orioles a second left-hander with Zach Britton. Real good year for the Bowie Bay Sox. 33 games, 2-0. How about 43 Ks to just 7 walks? And that next line is the key. Left-handed batters just 158 against Donnie Hart, a 27th round pick back in 2013. I spoke with Donnie before the game about the moment when the Bay Sox manager Gary Kendall told him he was going to the big leagues.
I remember sitting there thinking about what he just said. And so I asked him, I said, Skip, I said, are you telling me that I'm going to the big leagues? And he's like, yeah, that's what I said. And so I sat there after I hung up the phone with him, and it took about 30 minutes for me to, muster up the courage to call my parents and tell them. So, but yeah, it wasn't as elaborate as Tolliver's was, which was one of the most incredible moments I've ever been a part of. But it was still pretty cool.
Now, yesterday you got to fly in your first major league charter flight and then come into a major league clubhouse as, in fact, a major leaguer. What were those emotions like yesterday for you?
I wasn't as nervous as I thought I would be. The whole entire way back from Akron, I was sitting there thinking to myself, playing it through my head, how am I going to react when I get on the bus and meet all the guys and all that kind of stuff and get in the clubhouse. And, everybody was open, and, they all came up to me and said congrats, welcome. And but it was cool. I mean, you get on the bus and you get to the airport and you kind of go through the gates and then you start walking up to the plane, and there's none of the stuff that you're used to whenever you get on a plane. And then it takes off, and when it took off, I kind of sat there and thought to myself, I was like, I guess this is it, And so it was exciting. And then you get to get in the clubhouse and see how it's done, and then walk out here and see all the bright lights and the bigger stadium and all that kind of stuff. And so it's a dream come true.
What have you been able to do each of your 4 years as a pro to improve, to enable you to get this phone call?
Oh, learn a lot. I was able to build, somewhat of a relationship with Darren, and I'm very grateful for that because, that guy's, he gets better every year too, no matter the age. And so, I was able to sit there and talk to him in spring training a couple years ago, and just kind of learn and pick his brain, and then, be able to go back and watch him and see how he goes about righties and see how he goes about lefties. And then, Alan Mills, I've been fortunate enough in the 3 years I've been with this organization, I've had him for 2. And, we sit down and we talk about a lot of things and what he sees and what I need to do to, get better, and then how to go about it in game situations. And that's just the biggest key, is not being afraid to go out there and implement something that someone else sees that thinks that will help you. And, once I got past that and learned that you can't be afraid to, try something new and see if it works. And if it doesn't work, how to get better at it. I think that's what's helped me over the years.
So there is Donnie Hart. His parents are here. He has aunt and uncles here. His twin sister is here, and hopefully he gets in the game.
Well, pretty exciting. Great interview right there. You could tell the nerves and anxiety kind of got me a little nervous up here in the booth.
And now let's get a look at our BGE home game time temperature, which, of course, inside is climate-controlled 72, outside 89 and muggy. BGE Home is Baltimore's home team for heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical. Why would you call anyone else? So the O's are raised first to 3. Here's the Orioles starting lineup presented by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, and nothing to hide. Jones, Scope, and Machado. Manny, big numbers head-to-head against the Rays. Davis, Trumbo, and Wieters, with Hardy in the number 7 spot, then Alvarez and Ricker.
And Chris Archer, take a look at his pitch arsenal. Fastball 50%, the breaking ball 38%, and of course the changeup. Still very big arm, but struggled through the first half. Only 4 wins, 12 losses. A lofty earned run average. It was well over 5 for much of the first half. Orioles hoping he stays down here to start this ball game.
So Jones takes one up and in. Adam into the first half on fire. He brings an 8-game hitting streak into tonight's game. That batting average, as you see, up to 268. And a swing and a miss. Well, Archer, Mike told you 4-12. The 12 losses more than any other pitcher in the American League. And yet here at the Trop, Mike, he has the 3rd best home ERA in the entire league.
Yeah, pretty amazing. He has pitched very well here in the Trop in his 9 starts, a 2.70 earned run average.
Adam got under it, shallow left, out is Miller, in is Geyer. And Geyer calls and makes the catch. Yeah, one away here in the first, and first inning problems, they've plagued him all year.
And that has been really a big key to his lack of success. 9.95 earned run average in the first inning. Second inning on 3.56. 21 of his 48 walks have come in the first inning. So yeah, he needs a little to settle into a ball game, and once he does, he's back to the Chris Archer that we have seen in the past. Coming out of spring training, he was the Cy Young favorite.
Jonathan Schoop in the number 2 spot tonight. Batting average above 300 at 304. And a swing and a miss at an off-speed pitch.
Real good straight change. Of course, quality arsenal we're going to see here from Chris Archer. Escaping this first inning unscathed, the goal of his, obviously. But kind of stabilizing this rotation. I think he is the ace of the staff. He needs to play big here in the second half.
Archer just 27 years old. He's in his 5th season. And here's what Schoop just saw.
Up and in fastball. To move a little bit. I can feel uncomfortable in the box. Schoop has been on a roll, to say the least. This guy has been mashing. Incredible first half for Jonathan Schoop. How about hits in 20 of his last 21 games? And it has been with power as well. Some monster home runs, using the whole field. The breakout season we are witnessing is underway.
It's a piece to stay alive. Yeah, in those 21 games, Mike, 36 base hits. He's 1 hit away from 100 on the year. He would join Trumbo and Machado with 100 hits for Bucks Birds.
Well, a great first half for Jonathan Schoop. Health certainly the key for him. I think both he and Machado get banged up a little bit in the first couple of years, has helped them understand what it's going to take to play and stay healthy through a major league season.
Jonathan with a 9-game hitting streak he brings into tonight's game. There's his month of July so far, 351. O's have played 9 games. He's had a base hit in all 9. And another foul ball to stay alive.
Slider right there. See, Archer has always been, I guess, demonstrative out on the mound, kind of shows his emotions out there, but in watching him, might be the fact of getting beat up in the first half. Looks a little stiff, a little mechanical on the bump, not as smooth and fluid as we have seen him in the past.
Overthrows that one down and away, so Schoop has already seen 7 pitches and the count even 2-2. His strikeouts per 9 innings are up from his career average, but so are his hits per 9 innings and his walks per 9 innings.
Yeah, and that's really the key, the command and control of the first half. You know, he's almost averaging 4 walks per 9 innings.
And Schoop down on strikes. Real good off-speed pitch. Looked like the slider, Mike, and Jonathan swung over.
But he is a strikeout pitcher, and that has not left him. 131 strikeouts now of Jonathan Schoop. Yeah, you see the breaking ball down and away is the target. He hits the spot, execution the key, and he executes there.
Mercedes Pitch Tracks presented by Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. And here's the Orioles all-star third baseman, Manny Machado. Did not get a hit in the all-star game, 1-0 for 3. And a swing and a miss. Actually a foul tip held by Luke Maile, the catcher. Archer out of Clayton, North Carolina in his 5th season. All of his big league appearances have been with the Rays. He has 36 big league wins, 44 losses. And foul back at 0-2.
Let's take a look at the Rays defense behind Archer. This will help for sure. They have their outfield back, Geyer, Kiermaier, and Sosa Jr. Rays outfield, Miller and Forsythe up the middle. Longoria and Morrison will be on the corners. It's Kiermaier, platinum glove center fielder. You want to see an impact player change the face of this team. This guy is one of the best defenders in the game, and he will help stabilize the defense, which has been a sore spot for this team, and I think will certainly put a smile on Archer's face. Take a look at the American League strikeouts leaders deep inside the number, saying this Archer is just behind David Price with his 131. Price leading the way with 140. big arms there on the list. Sale, Kluber, and Verlander, strikeout pitchers in the AL.
Manny lays off. Another count to 1-2 on Machado. Manny went 3 for 13 in the Angel series last weekend. Well, he has been very consistent on the year. And a good take. Machado has 109 hits, most on the club. And he is tied for 10th in the league in home runs with his 19. So good combo there, the hits and the power. And a swing and a miss, he got him. Good fastball on the inner part of the plate and a smile for Manny. O's go 3 up, 3 down. Gallardo to work. Watch their first place team pick it up after the All-Star break. Here's the Rays lineup. Forsythe, Miller, then Evan Longoria. 19 home runs, 178 total bases, career highs at the All-Star break. Morrison, Souza, and Dickerson with Geyer in left field, and Kiermaier off the DL today, and Luke Maile, the catcher, bats ninth.
Now let's take a look at Yovani Gallardo's pitch arsenal this season. The fastball 35% of the time. The breaking ball has played big for him 53% of the time. He can change speeds with it. At times looking like a cutter. He'll front door it, he'll back door it. 5.82 earned run average has come down since his shoulder problems have healed up. 30 punch outs for Gallardo. This will bring down that opponent batting average. 298. But high lefties up to 333, getting up to 6 long balls this year, but he looked really good his last couple outings, moving the ball all over the zone. That's going to be a key for Gallardo. Command and control, mixing up his pitches. Use all 4 corners of the plate.
Gets ahead of Logan Forsythe, who was just 2 for his last 11. He has settled into the leadoff spot for the Rays. Real good breaking ball.
Take a look at the big shift here. Now moving back with 2 strikes. Jonathan Schoop sliding back on the second base side of the bag.
And up and away, and it's 1-2 for Yovani, his 10th start of the year. He made 4 starts before going on the disabled list in April. And he has made 5 starts since, so this is his 6th since the DL, and against the shift, there's a base hit. So Gallardo pitching him away, and Forsythe protecting with 2 strikes, just slaps it where there wasn't a player.
Yeah, Forsythe very tough to defend. Take a look at the Orioles defense. Rickard, Jones, and Trumbo in the O's outfield. Hardy and Schoop, the double play combination. Machado and Davis on the corners, and all-star catcher Matt Wieters start the second half behind the plate.
Here's Brad Miller, 241 on the year. He is just 1 for his last 12. And this is another thing about beginning the second half here against the Rays. The Rays have struggled so much that you got to figure eventually they're going to run into a hot streak. For the Orioles, you just hope that doesn't come until next week.
Yeah, each team gets a little time off, obviously, for the All-Star break. The Rays needed to lick their wounds. A lot of players going down for this Rays team that have helped them to settle into the bottom of the American League East, but they're getting some back slowly but surely. We talked about their outfield. Souza Jr. back, Kiermaier back in center field, Geyer out left. So the health is returning, and I think in return, so will the positive feeling and this team becoming more competitive. I just think they're going to be one of the teams that everybody in the East is a little worried about, because they're going to get them pitching back. Boxberger's coming back, Cobb as well.
Ball 3 outside, so 3-0 on a hitter who is struggling at the moment. Well, for Brad Miller and the Rays, they've lost 6 in a row. They bring that losing streak into tonight's game, and they are 3-22 in their last 25 games. 3-22.
They have hit the skids for sure.
We're on the strike ticket, 3-1. On June the 16th, when they began play that day, they were 31-32. And since then, they've gone 3-22, and they bring a 34-54 mark into tonight's game. 20 games below 500. 3-1 is outside. Corner called strike. As Miller thought it was ball 4, he started at first base.
Well, Gallardo definitely moves the ball all over the place. See the Mercedes pitch track and their 84-mile-an-hour cutter right on the outside corner, getting the call.
Forsythe from first. Leadoff single. He's running, and it's taken for ball 4. Wieters began to throw, and I guess Lance Barksdale said ball 4. So single now, walk, and a rough start here for Gallardo. And here's the season snapshot with the rankings for the Rays.
Now 34-54 record, last in the American League East, last of the batting average, last in runs per game. Fourth most in home runs, though, but there are a lot of solo shots with 118 homers, and the opponent average, ninth highest, 263. Their pitching has been in trouble. The starters have lacked consistency. Their bullpen is overused for sure. And that big losing streak through June and July, bullpen's earned run average was up over 7.
Strike 1 to Evan Longoria. It was a modest 3-game hitting streak that he brings into tonight's game. Has not hit well against the O's on the year. 99 base hits on the year, most on the Rays club. Oh, foul, so it's 0-2. Now there are some that believe that the Rays should consider maybe dealing Evan Longoria in a big blockbuster trade. He is certainly their star player, now 30 years old. He's in his 9th season. And if he was traded to a team that needed his services, you might be able to get a lot back. And if you think about it, and the 0-2 is upstairs, they're 20 games below 500 with him.
Yeah.
So if you can make one of those 4-for-1 or 5-for-1 deals, you might be able to get a lot of talent and get it into your organization. But do you trade the one player that everyone here knows?
Right.
He's the face of the franchise.
Absolutely. He's done so many good things for this organization. Really put him on the map. And they started getting on a nice little roll. Yeah, this team was really built on pitching and defense, but Longoria was the money offensive player. He's been handling the hot corner ever since he came on board the Rays. This guy, perennial all-star, just a big-time pro player. I don't think they can lose the face of the franchise. I say continue to build around him for all that he's done.
Gallardo battling here. He was 0-2. Now it's 2-2.
See the pitch track. This is Gallardo's game plan. He just works the perimeter of the plate. Especially when he's on, he will leave no cookies in the middle.
Towards Manny, but foul, and he broke his back.
Ball always moving, a little two-seamer running in to get Longoria's lumber.
So Longoria about to see a 7th pitch here in this at bat. High fly ball to left. He got under it. Joey Rickard in on it. And Joey puts it away for the first out of the inning. So Longoria got a pitch. It looked like he had the drive and he missed it.
Yeah, he wanted it. A little frustration after he popped it up to Rickard there, but that's all about Gallardo moving the ball around, changing speeds, keeping him just off balance enough to get the weak fly ball to left field for the first out of the inning.
Here's Logan Morrison. He is struggling at the moment, just 3 for his last 13 and 236 on the year. His first season in Tampa Bay.
He was doing some hitting though the last time these two teams met up, laying out some lasers all over the outfield in Camden Yard. But Morrison's been very streaky. He's either all or nothing.
Well, as the Orioles look at their second half schedule, they have 41 games left within the division. They have 3 series with Tampa Bay, Toronto, and Boston, and they still have 4 series with the Yankees. Lifted to left field, slicing in foul ground. Long run for Manny. He's not going to get there, and it scatters the bullpen. The most games they have left within the division is against the Yankees. They still have to play them 13 times. They have 10 games left with Tampa Bay, which begins tonight. 9 left with Boston, 9 left with Toronto. And they need Gallardo to find it.
They sure do. A lot of games left within the division. And 4 teams, 500 or better. Very tight in the AL East.
A 1-1 on Morrison, 2 on and 1 down. And Gallardo now already at 20 pitches here, 4 batters into the inning. Our Maryland Live Casino Inside the Numbers, and with Morrison here at home, and this is regarded as a pitcher's ballpark. That's a low batting average at home, 177, lowest in the league.
Yeah, that's some streaky hit.
Popped up back this way. Logan Morrison began his career with the Florida Marlins. 22nd round pick of the Marlins back in 2005, and then following the 2013 season he was traded to Seattle. He played there a couple of years and now with the Rays. He's always been a popular player wherever he's played, but always seems to be a player who plays below what is regarded as his potential. 2-2 pitch, swinging a foul back. Mike, you were talking about in our open the changes with the Orioles, and Dylan Bundy now is in the rotation. He will start Sunday. It'll be his first major league start. And when we visited with Dan Duquette last Sunday at home, you asked Dan the question about, are they open to piggybacking starters? And Dan's comment was, well, yeah, for one of the spots, not for 2. Now, that obviously is going to be for Dylan. The most pitches he's thrown in any of his relief outings are 57. And you wonder with Gallardo, because of his style and how the pitch count is elevated, because how he works the corners and doesn't want to give in, is he actually a piggyback guy because he has trouble getting deep in games?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, he shows when he gets to that 5-inning spot, that's pretty much the limit. Not a lot of innings over 5, so you target that. The key, obviously, is to get to the back end of the bullpen. You know, get to Brock and get to Britton back there. Wait.
And hopefully O'Day.
And yeah, hopefully O'Day, which would help that bridge get a little bit shorter. But that is going to be the key. And I don't know, whatever way you look at it, it seems like the Orioles have been piggybacking the whole first half, because there hasn't been a lot of deep starts. Tillman obviously the most consistent starter, but a lot of short outings.
Another pitch, foul ball. We saw Donnie Hart there as the Orioles tinkered with their roster. They added Donnie to the bullpen, And they still are going with an 8-man bullpen because for tonight's game, Ubaldo is in the bullpen. So the pitching staff is 12. There's Michael Givens, the new daddy, and his wife just had their daughter yesterday. And there's Ubaldo. So it's 8 in the bullpen and 4 in the rotation, with one of those 4, Dylan Bundy, you would think will be on a pitch count simply because he hasn't thrown more than 57 pitches in an outing this year. In the dirt, ball 3. An extended at bat here, and Gallardo got ahead. He's having trouble putting Morrison away, and this will be the 9th pitch to Logan Morrison in this at bat.
Yeah, this looks pretty similar to his last start. He's working the perimeter, hoping that the hitters will be a little bit more over aggressive and take advantage of that, but they're not reaching out there. They're not expanding the zone right now on Gallardo. He's got to get back in there. The pitch is a little bit more tantalizing.
Runners do not go, and it's popped up foul again. And in the crowd, out of play.
We'll take a look at Gallardo on an average by situation with the bases empty. 315, a few more cookies thrown, but with runners get on, starts to bear down a little bit. 276, runners in scoring position. 263, a little bit better. 2 outs. So he's topping out. 158 batting average. Money's on the line.
So this will be the 10th pitch to Logan Morrison here, with first and second and 1 down. And time requested at the plate and granted. Morrison is prone to strike out, which is likely why Kevin Cash did not send the runners. See if he changes it up here on another 3-2 pitch. They do not go, and it's outside, ball 4. Check swing, they appeal, he did not go. And that is a well-earned walk, 10 pitches. And Gallardo now in a major jam here. The bases are loaded, just 1 down.
Yeah, borderline pitch right there. Morrison able to lay off of. It's working itself off the outside corner. Pretty close. They're gone either way. Gallardo's got to get back in there. More aggressive in the zone. Better be careful here.
Well, the base is loaded. Forsythe at third, Miller at second, Morrison at first, and Steven Souza Jr. to face Gallardo. Nowhere to put him. First inning rally here for the Rays. Weak ground ball towards first. Davis charges. He'll let the run score and step on the bag. So a decision you have to make. Would you have a good enough grip to throw to the plate? Davis obviously thought not, so he takes the sure out and 2 men down.
And Geyer getting off there, going on contact, ball on the ground. Let's take a look. Did he get a good secondary? A little bit of a hesitation right there, but the ball kind of spinning. And nice play by Davis to make sure of that big second out. Ray's getting on the board first.
Yeah, the only reason you think he might want to come home is because there was a force. He wouldn't have to worry about Wieters getting the ball in time to make a tag, but if there's any doubt, that is the right play. You take it out and short circuit a crooked number inning. So second and third down. Davis with a good play there. And here's Corey Dickerson. And a high fly ball to center field. So Gallardo's going to get out of this. Adam will put it away, and the Rays settle for a run. So they had bases loaded, 1 down, get just 1. We head to the second. O's come to bat, down by a run. Of the game, Gina Pursley of Sparks has won $500 for being selected and will win $500 more for every Orioles home run hit tonight. You can play Home Run Rich's scratch-offs and win up to $50,000 or enter non-winning tickets for a chance to be the contestant of the game. Just visit mdlottery.com/baseball. Chris Archer, a 17-pitch first inning, 3 up and 3 down. Now has a 1-0 lead. Chris Davis will lead off for the O's. Trumbo and Wieters will follow. And right there for a strike, 0-1. Davis at 237. He's got a 2-game hitting streak going, but in his last 7 games, he's just 4 for his last 28. So he is looking for a strong second half. And it's interesting, Mike, when you look at Davis, he's been somewhat streaky in the first half, and the Orioles are in first place. But he still is producing runs. He is tied for 6th in home runs with 22, and he's tied for 9th in the league in RBIs with 58. And he hasn't gotten hot yet.
Right. Well, there's some hot hitters around him, so a lot of runners on base. But the fact that Chris Davis is taking the walk, his on-base percentage is up, so he's scoring some runs. Davis is a force in the lineup, and teams at times they choose to pitch around him.
And the 1-2 is swung on and missed. So Davis down on strikes. 3 consecutive strikeouts for Archer. And 1 away in the Orioles' second.
Well, it's a loose, easy arm, and this is the easy cheese. Top of the zone, 94 miles an hour. Riding it up there. Doesn't waste much time.
Archer is averaging 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. Slender right-hander. Here's Trumbo. And down and away for ball 1. Mark has an 8-game hitting streak. He carries over into the second half. 12 hits during the streak, and 5 of the 12 hits are home runs. Breaking ball fouled off. 1-1 to count on Trumbo. Now, Orioles leading the majors in home runs all time. Trumbo at the moment, of course, the second half still has to be played out, but he's leading. Davis won it in 2015. Nelson Cruz the year before. Chris Davis year before that. And Frank Robinson in his Triple Crown year 1966. A mile-high pop-up right side. Second baseman Forsythe settles under it. And he has, for the out and 2 down, 5 in a row retired by Archer to begin the game. Well, Birdland favorite is back to Oriole Park next Friday. First 20,000 fans 21 and over at the game at 7:05 against the Indians receive the Orioles floppy hat presented by Miller Lite. So add this year's version to your Birdland wardrobe and celebrate the first home game of the second half. Tickets at Orioles.com or 888-848-BIRD. You know you're going to want your floppy hat. There's a version from years past with his Abbott and Costello shirt. Who's on first?
I don't know. No, I don't know on second.
He's on third. Wieters takes an 0 for 14 into the second half. He's back from the All-Star game where he caught half the game and got to catch Zach Britton in the 9th inning as Zach picked up the save for the American League. Gets it by him, 1-2.
That is a nasty slider right there. 88 miles an hour. With some late finish.
Well, 1-2 with 2 outs and nobody on. Just off the plate. Archer was drafted by the Indians out of high school in 2006, and then he was traded to the Cubs following the 2008 season when he was an A-ball. He pitched in the South Atlantic League that year. 2-2 swung on and lifted to right center field. Souza on the run. He's called off by Kiermaier, and Kiermaier runs it down for the out. 3 up, 3 now for a second straight inning. Mid-second, Rays have a 1-0 lead. you enjoy a cold one to look forward to Miller time later in tonight's game, brought to you by Miller Lite. Gallardo going back to work. He did allow a run in the first. It could have been much worse. Tampa Bay had the bases loaded, 1 down, and only got 1 run in. Lower third of the Rays lineup. Here's Brandon Guyer. He's back with the team now.
Brandon Guyer, he was actually in that trade with Archer.
Yes. He was in the trade from the Cubs to the Rays. Archer was traded to the Indians for Mark DeRosa, who's now an analyst on MLB Network. There's a strike. And Guyer was one of the players who came here with Archer from the Cubs. It was January 8th, 2011. Now Guyer, he lives in Gaithersburg in Maryland, went to the University of Virginia. And he's one of those guys now. Talk about a healthy diet. He eats cricket protein bars, dried crickets that he claims taste like potato chips. I'm gonna take his word for it. I'm not gonna try it. Now, could be they're not really crickets. They just name it. That's what they say.
I know one of my kids had a pet lizard that we used to feed crickets. They didn't have any cricket bars.
Well, the one thing about Brandon Guyer, though, he has his priorities in order. In the offseason, him and his wife, they help and volunteer at homeless shelters in the offseason. That's a really nice thing to see. One-time college teammate of Ryan Zimmerman of the Nationals. 2-2, and again, Gallardo gets ahead and has trouble finishing off at bats.
Yeah, trying to be too fine and working the pitch count up.
Ball hit towards Stoke. Jonathan will charge to play the hop. And Gallardo gets the first out here in the second, 1 away. That was a real good pitch, sawed him off.
Yeah, he's made a couple good pitches with the two-seam fastball running in on the hands after just setting him up with some off-speed pitches away, really opening up the inside corner, but you better be able to execute. Gallardo is. A couple broken bats here early on in this game.
Here's Kevin Kiermaier, happy to be back, activated for today's game. He was out with a fracture in his left hand that he injured playing defense, diving for a ball. And the fastball's too tight.
Yeah, this kid plays hard. He's diving all over the place. Covers more ground than any center fielder in the game.
Does Adam know that?
Well, he knew it last year when he walked away with the platinum glove. He was well aware of it. Yeah,
I think number 10 wants to go back to the polls there.
Oh yeah. Oh, he'd love to challenge him.
And Kiermaier battling Gallardo here. He's done really well for a 31st round draft pick.
Yes, he has. He's the great, really uncoachable tool of speed. And he's developed into a great major league player. I think offensively there were some concerns. Was he going to be able to stay consistent enough against both lefties and righties to stay in the lineup?
Strike on the corner. Borderline, but again, he hit the glove.
Take a look at the 3-1 offering. A little bend on it. A spin keeps Kiermaier off the ball, and it catches that outside corner.
Foul back this way, just below us.
This is the booth that almost took one in the coconut.
You did?
Remember? Right there.
Oh, yeah.
Right there. One of these
Here's your
holes in the
spot.
back.
Now look, you're the guy with the major league record for most errorless games. You're supposed to catch these balls.
Yeah, one, and I've also told you I don't have my tools up here, the tools of the trade.
So 1 out walk. third already issued by Gallardo. Next Saturday, July 23rd, the first 20,000 fans 15 and over at the 7:05 game against the Indians receive an Orioles batting practice cap presented by PNC Bank. The replica cap features the cartoon bird and the popular new all-black cap that was worn this year for the first time by the O's during BP. So get your tickets now. Come on out and join us, Orioles.com or 888-848-BIRD. Luke Maile, his first Major League bat this year. He was called up to replace Hank Conger, who was having all kinds of trouble behind the plate with potential base stealers, so he was sent to AAA to work on his defense.
And maybe his offense a little bit. I think that as well. But yeah, he couldn't. He had a hard time throwing out runners. Really considered a top defensive catcher. Prospect anyway.
Orioles have seen Maile before. He spent all of the first half of this year, 58 games at AAA Durham. Check swing, and that's going to fall in for a base hit. Kiermaier can fly. He's trying to go to third. The throw is up the line. Throw to second, and out at second is Maile. So that was unlucky, unfortunate for Gallardo, but they do get an out at second base and 2 men down.
Well, good thing they got the out. A little check swing, excuse me, on the slider. Trumbo comes up throwing. Kiermaier's speed winning this one. A little offline, but Machado recognizing Maile on the run. Not a smart decision there. Went out of the box a little slow. Be heading into second base. Machado able to record that second out.
I'm surprised Trumbo even attempted to go to third with Kiermaier's speed, but it works out well for the Orioles as Maile runs into an out. So 2 down now. Here's Forsythe. And a strike on the outside corner. Forsythe singled and scored the run in the first. Came in on the RBI ground out by Souza. Kiermaier at third, but now 2 men down. Hard hit ball past Machado into left field. There's a base hit. Kiermaier scores, and it's 2-0 Tampa Bay. So the walk comes around to score, and the Orioles hit an early hole.
I saw Forsythe go the other way late in the count, but early in the count, he is willing to turn and burn. He smokes this one, squares it up. Little hop off the lip. It's up over the glove of Machado, but that ball came off hot, well over 100 miles an hour. Picking up another base hit and an RBI.
Well, it's the first of the 3 walks to score, but the other 2 walks in the first inning got Forsythe to third, where he was able to score on a ground out. So the walks have hurt Gallardo in each inning here. Miller takes a strike, one of those 2 first inning walks. Giovanni on the year has been walking about 5 per 9 innings. He walked 4 in his last start against the Angels last Saturday, and there's a base hit in the right field. That ball was hit hard.
Well, Miller's really been letting it fly. I mean, he cuts it loose up there and smokes one by Chris Davis, who's drawn in. Forsythe at first base, and he's able to get it by him. This time Forsythe holding ground at second base.
Tampa Bay's already had 7 base runners in an inning and 2/3. They have 4 hits and they've received 3 walks. And here's Longoria, who flied out to left field, got under one his first at bat. Down and away, 1-0. Buck looking on from the bench. Gallardo is one of the keys to this team in the second half, trying to find the form that he's had in his career. His problem here tonight is putting hitters away. Two 2-0 on Longoria. Ball 3, not even close. Gallardo is 2-0 in his 5 starts since coming off the DL. But 3 no decisions, and he's pitched to no decisions in his last 2 starts, pitching a total of only 9 innings in those 2 games. Not even close again. Ball 4. 4 walks, 2 in the first, 2 in the second, and that'll load the bases and get Dave Wallace out to the mound.
Yeah, somehow get him back in the zone. He's working way too hard here in the early going. Does not have a feel for many of his pitches. A little two-seamer that works inside, his best pitch so far, but inconsistent command of the strike zone. Understanding the ability to work the perimeter, but got to get it in there. This is going to be another early exit. You talk about putting some pressure on Buck Showalter to start the second half. Really want this bullpen to stay healthy, get off on the right foot, not start off working, get behind the 8 ball.
So the base is loaded. And if not for Maile running into an out, this would be an even bigger jam for Gallardo. Morrison up, he walked his first at bat. That ball's ripped down the line, but it is foul. Jumping on the first pitch, and he was a bit too anxious, just out in front.
A lot of times starting pitchers can steal strikes with inside pitches, especially inside off-speed pitches. Not the little slider that really not a lot he can do. Got a lot of runners out there on the bases. He's looking to drive them in, so you know the swing's going to be aggressive. He gets the head out a little too early and just strike 1.
And a foul the other way. So he gets ahead. Can he put him away and keep this to a 1-run inning?
Yeah, isn't that the key? It seems like even Gallardo's last start, he was doing a nice job getting ahead, but coming up with the put-away pitch. He doesn't need to come up with a strikeout put-away pitch. How about a weak contact put-away pitch?
Well, this is the 13th batter he's facing, and it's the 11th batter he's facing from the stretch. Actually, 10th batter. He was in the full windup for Forsythe, who singled, then pitched the stretch the rest of the inning. And in this inning, he got Geyer and then was in the full windup to Kiermaier, but he walked him. So 0-2 on Morrison with the bases loaded. Another foul ball. He had a 10-pitch at bat in the first inning by fouling balls off. And Gallardo, at this stage of his career, he does not have an overpowering pitch to put a hitter away, and he doesn't have a trick pitch to put a hitter away.
Exactly. So he really relies on the soft contact. You got to get it close enough or far enough away. And a little in between right now. A lot of walks here in the early going, and can't quite get the right pitch.
Just outside. Weeder set up out there off the plate. Gallardo hit the glove, but the glove was off the plate. So he doesn't get the call.
Real good pitch, and that's what he strives for. Keep him close and make these pitches a little more enticing, and then you'll get the early swing, early weak outs.
Well, bases loaded, 1-2 on Morrison. Weak ground ball towards third. Manny waits on it. And he'll gun it to first just in time to get Morrison. That will end the inning. So Gallardo again living the tightrope, but he allows just 1 run. We are through 2 at the Trop. Rays have a 2-0 lead. Brought to you by T-Mobile. Well, during the All-Star break, the Red Sox got busy. They acquired left-hander Drew Pomeranz from the Padres for 18-year-old pitching prospect Anderson Espinoza. Dave Dombrowski, now the president of baseball operations, said, "We think he makes us better now. It's a sacrifice for the future, but we also think we're deep enough to be able to cover that up." Dave Dombrowski has always been aggressive wherever he's been in charge of a team.
Oh, my goodness. Every time a guy gets hurt, they land another player, and a quality player. They just picked up Aaron Hill. They got the closer from the Diamondbacks, and now landing Pomeranz. So they're staying aggressive here before the deadline. They want to push through. Their goal is obviously to win the East. And they have been super aggressive. I know the Orioles had their eyes on Pomeranz, and I don't know if there was any bidding wars or not, but I know that young prospect the Red Sox gave up, and they're the best arms in the minor leagues.
And just 18 years old, or 21 years old. Hardy, shallow center field. And Kiermaier puts it away, and one away, 7 straight retired by Chris Archer. On Sunday, July 24th, the celebration of the 50th anniversary of the 1966 World Championship team will continue. First 20,000 fans 15 and over receive a 1966 Jim Palmer replica jersey presented by UMBC's 50th anniversary. So don't miss out on this historic addition to your Birdland wardrobe. Get your tickets and come on out and join us next Sunday. Don't forget, kids run the bases after the game, just as they do every Sunday. 888-848-BIRD or online at Orioles.com. Yep, kids like that. Alvarez to center field. He got a lot of that one. Back it goes. There's Kiermaier, and that ball is gone, and the Orioles get on the board. The first base hit leaves the ballpark, and it's a 2-1 game.
And that's a bomb straightaway center. Pedro Alvarez started heating up in June. July's been pretty impressive. First home run this month, but hitting over 500.
So his 10th on the year gets the Orioles on the board here. That's their first hit, their first base runner, and he circles the bases.
And brought over 4 power in this lineup. 10th home run. That's a cookie, top of the zone, but he stays on top. His trajectory there off the bat. Straight away center field.
0-2 on Rickard, and another $500 to our Maryland Lottery contestant of the game, Gina Pursley of Sparks. 110 miles an hour, 439. He hit it into the standing room only area up there by the batter's eye.
He's putting on quite a show yesterday. The Orioles had a workout. They flew into Tampa yesterday afternoon. Alvarez was hitting bombs all over the place.
Yeah, but that was against you.
Yeah,
tonight he just hit one off Chris Archer.
At least he's feeling good. I know. Archer throws a couple miles an hour harder than I do.
That's what you're here for, to get them confidence.
Believe it.
Well, I mean, in fairness to you, you did face 6 hitters yesterday, which is quite a lot for a BP group. Usually it's 3 and you're done. Called strike 3, and Rickard didn't think so. So Archer gets the call, 2 men down. That's his 4th strikeout.
Yeah, Rickard definitely didn't like it. 95 miles an hour, so there's some hair on it. And how about the location? Down and away. Toughest pitch to get to. That's a great pitcher's pitch. Gallardo could use some help with the low strike.
You know, Rickard thought that was beneath the strike zone, but framed nicely by Bailey, and he got the call. So here's Adam Jones. Adam flied out leading off the game. And after his slow start, Adam has really picked it up at the plate. This ball's got a chance. Deep left center field. Kiermaier over. The ballpark will hold it. And he puts it away in deep left center field for the out. So Jones guessing as Alvarez did, but Adam got under it. But Pedro Alvarez goes deep straightaway center field. His 10th of the year has made this a 1-run game. Baseball on Masson is brought to you by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. Lovely part of the state, the West Coast. There's Michael Givens, the new daddy. Michael and his wife Tiffany welcome their daughter. There she is, Michaela Grace, yesterday. 7 pounds, 13 ounces, 20 inches long. Mother and baby are doing well. So congratulations, Michael. He was all smiles downstairs.
She looked like she was ready to go, right? That's why Michael doesn't look like he's had any sleep. That's the new dad stuff. Got to get used to that.
Yep. Check swing by Souza Jr., and it's a called strike. So now let's see if Gallardo can have a shutdown inning, as the Orioles have scored to get him back in the game. It's 2-1. Breaking ball is low, 1-1. He's not getting the chase pitch here. They're actually very good pitcher's pitches, but it's not having the effect he hopes.
Yeah, you'd hope more aggressiveness in this Rays offense. Showing some patience on some borderline pitches.
And a 2-1 on Souza. Dickerson and Geyer follow. Foul tip held by Wieters, 2-2. Souza drove in a run in the first. RBI ground out. And a cue ball to first base. 26 years old. Another low ball 3. Souza was part of a 10-player deal. He was drafted by the Nationals, made his big league debut with the Nats. And in December 2014, 3 teams, 10 players changing hands. And foul back. The Nationals, the Rays, and the Padres were involved in that deal. So his second season now with Tampa Bay out of Everett, Washington. And career numbers, 28 home runs. Swing and a miss, he got him. So Gallardo picks up his first strikeout and one away here in the third.
Well, let's take a look at the Nissan pitch track, the high fastball, 89 miles an hour. All the off-speed pitches that Gallardo's been featuring, helping that fastball play up. And he's able to locate the heater as well. Souza Jr. got a fastball down and in, and then strike 3 up at the top of the zone.
Here is Dickerson, who flied out to Jones to end the first inning. Tampa Bay has stranded 5, and there's a base hit up the middle. So Gallardo cannot have a clean inning. And there's a 1-out single, and again back to the stretch for Gallardo. Well, the second half is underway, and we're kicking it off with a giveaway. Head on over to our Instagram account, Masson Orioles, to see how you and a friend could win a signed Chris Davis baseball. That's Masson Orioles on Instagram for your chance to win. That is the 5th hit allowed by Gallardo. He's also walked 4. So again, back to the stretch. And here is Brandon Geyer, who grounded out his first at-bat to Scope. 0-1. All right, now I mentioned that he enjoys cricket protein bars. And Mark Viviano, our colleague, who may be the healthiest human being I know, except maybe for you. Mark tells me that crickets are ground up into a high-protein flour and then made into either a cookie or a protein bar. He's Geyer bunts it foul. So Geyer prefers the protein bar versions of the crickets, and Viv says they actually taste very good. And he would know because, again, he's got to be the healthiest guy I know.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Viv. Crickets.
So that might be something you should look into.
Nah, I don't know about that. I don't know.
0-2 on Geyer with Dickerson at first and 1 down. Foul ball.
The fastball that Ray hit her a little late on. So many off-speed offerings. Gallardo throws his breaking ball up over 50% of the time. So that fastball, 89, 90 miles an hour, get on some hitters if they're sitting off speed.
And a base hit to right field. He went down and got it. That is a real good piece of hitting there as he noticed Gallardo working him away. So again, he's in a jam.
And take a look, his hands on the bat. He choked up just a hair to have some bat control. And a nasty pitch down and away that he just stays on and slaps it. You better have some bat control. You're going to shoot that hole with 2 strikes. Clean single the other way.
And Kiermaier up a lot of speed. He's a tough guy to double up. Swing and a miss. Now that pitch had change-up results with the swing, but it wasn't a changeup. It must have been the cutter that moved under the swing.
Yes, exactly. Cut fastball, 88 miles an hour.
Fly ball to right. That's playable for Trumbo. Runners are going to tag to draw a throw. Heading towards third is Dickerson. The throw is cut off by Hardy. So first and third, but now 2 down in the inning.
Showing off the cannon in right field, letting it fly. Couple opportunities out there. Nice job hitting J.J. Hardy.
The runners on the corners. Dickerson to third. Geyer holds it first. And here's Maile, who singled his first at bat, and Gallardo should thank him. With Kiermaier on at first and 1 down, he singled to right. Kiermaier went to third, drew a throw from Trumbo, and Maile never stopped, and he was gunned down at second base for the second out of that inning. Ground ball, base hit left field. He comes through again. Here's another run, and Gallardo gives the run right back. 3 hits in the inning. It's 3-1 Tampa Bay.
Oh, excuse me, check swing base hit in his first AB. A little bit more aggressive there. He wasn't going to have the check swing. Let it fly. Pounds this little breaking ball through the 5-6 hole and picks up a stake on the end. Rays have scored every inning.
And he is fortunate it's only a 2-run deficit. 7 base hits and 4 walks, so 11 base runners already. And 2 of the 3 runs have been driven in with 2-out hits. So you're that close to getting out of it, you can't put the final out away. So we're in the 3rd inning, and here's Forsythe for his 3rd at bat already. And he has 2 hits, including an RBI single. 2-0. Readers is going to go out. Vance Worley is going to start getting loose. Gallardo working on an extra day's rest because of the All-Star break. Showalter set it up that both he and Tillman, who goes tomorrow, get the extra day. Gallardo's day to pitch, if it wasn't for the All-Star break, would have been yesterday. But there was no game, so he goes today and has an extra day of rest. And a strike on the corner, 2-1. So the rotation concerns of the Orioles continuing here as they begin the second half. Orioles starters are 14th out of the 15-team league in starters ERA, and there's a bouncer to Hardy. They'll get out of another jam as they force the sliding Maile at second base. But another run on 3 hits and 2 more left. We'll head to the 4th. Birds come to bat, down by 2. And the fourth inning of Orioles baseball is brought to you by the RAV4 Hybrid. All-wheel drive and unexpected performance. Visit buyatoyota.com. Hey, that's the way to Sarasota. And Gallardo on the bench trying to figure out, what can I do? He's allowed single runs in each of the first 3 innings, trails 3-1, and is up to 77 pitches to get 9 outs. Meantime, Archer has allowed just 1 hit, a home run by Alvarez. Really efficient, 40 pitches to get through 3 innings. Jonathan Schoop leads off. Machado and Davis will follow.
Archer staying aggressive in the strike zone with some pretty powerful stuff. Good fastball, breaking ball. Archer loves to throw the slider against the Orioles.
And fouled off, 1-1 on Schoop. Jonathan struck out his first at bat, one of 4 strikeouts for Archer. Mentioned twice Archer was traded as a minor league player. First low A ball from the Indians to the Cubs, and then when he was traded here, he had pitched in high A ball in double A. There's a big bouncer to third. Longoria wide of the bag, and he grabs it. So Schoop is retired and 1 away. That's the first out on the ground in this game. Let's get a look at our PNC minor league report, brought to you by PNC. For the achiever in you, and DJ Stewart is finding it since he got promoted to Frederick.
Yeah, he is. First round pick, 2015, out of Florida State. Last 10 games, 351, a couple homers, 11 RBIs, 18 games with Frederick. Pretty impressive numbers. They're 306 with 62 games with Delmarva. He's only hitting 230. So yeah, the promotion doing him well. I think it kind of helps your confidence. You get the promotion like that, challenge some older players, of course, the Frederick league. So, you know, he's feeling good about himself. And I think the fact that a young player like Stewart getting that promotion there kind of should show, I think, a lot of young players that you don't have to get down to the level you're in. You know, promotion, you keep playing hard, get those opportunities. Who knows, you might take off at the next level. You might just feel comfortable.
Well, apparently he closed his stance a little bit, and since he's done that, his bat has come alive. He's making better contact.
Oh, you know the secret, though. You know Terry Crowley goes to Frederick. That is the secret.
The king of swing.
The king. Yeah, I saw the king up there over the All-Star break. Not the All-Star break, but actually
when the team was out
2
west.
weeks, yeah. I went up there and saw Crowley, and he had some real good things to say about DJ Stewart. One of the most prepared individuals. He comes looking to make himself better. He wants to learn from everybody. So that's a good sign for the first-round pick.
Manny chases one down and away. Well, he's down on strikes. That's number 5 and 2 away here in the 4th.
Nasty breaking ball. Take a look at the Nissan pitch track. It looks like it's going to stay in the zone. It's 90 miles an hour, so it sells itself as a fastball. And I don't think we've seen that swing from Manny Machado all year long. Devastating slider there.
The 2 down. Here's Davis. Swing and a miss on 1. Chris struck out his first at bat. Mentioned Chris is now 4 for his last 29. And he has 14 strikeouts in his 29 at-bats. So just under half of the times in this slump that he's in, he has struck out. And there's a good take, 2-1.
That is a great take. 88-mile-an-hour changeup.
So Archer leaning in, he thought he got squeezed there.
Probably a little both. How could Davis not swing at it? Maybe how could he not get the call?
Well, he gets a borderline call on the next pitch. Chris does take a lot of pitches.
Yeah, Nissan pitch track showing that nothing is in the strike zone.
Archer just as he started his windup. Most games hitting a home run on the year. Mark Trumbo 23, Chris Davis though 22. Tied with Bryant and Duvall of Cincinnati for third most. The difference with Mark Trumbo, he's had a home run in 23 separate games, but he has 5 multi-home run games. That's why he's got 28. Amazingly, Chris Davis does not have a multi-home run game on the year. So he's 22 home runs in 22 different games.
So you're saying he's good?
Yes. On this 3-2 pitch to right field. Up and away, ball 4, and that was a real good at-bat there for Chris. And he gets on. That's the first walk allowed by Archer, and it gets the tying run to the plate with 2 men down here in the 4th inning. Trumbo popped up his first at-bat to the second baseman Forsythe. Trumbo now just 3 for 13 against Archer in their head-to-head meetings. There's a strike right there. Archer, even though he has the 3rd best home ERA in the league, is just 1-6 at home. He is 3-6 in his road starts, but just 1-6 here at the Trop. One of the things about Archer is Trumbo swings through it. In 9 of his 19 starts, Tampa Bay scored for him 1 run or less. And that's how you can have a pretty good ERA and have a 4-12 record. And he gets ahead of Trumbo here, no balls and 2 strikes. Davis at first with 2 down. Center field off the end of the back. Kiermaier was deep. He's not going to get to it. And it bounces in for a hit. Davis with 2 down gets all the way to 3rd. So Trumbo there on an 0-2 pitch, just trying to make contact, and he did right off the end of the back. Kiermaier was way out there and had no chance to get in on it.
Oh, nice job there by Trumbo battling through. Yeah, you get to 2 strikes, you have got to protect. Nasty pitch on the outside corner, cutting away, but it's elevated and gives Trumbo a little shot. 2 outs. Davis easily in the 3rd base. Let's keep this inning going. Nice job by Davis drawing the walk. Great at bat. And Trumbo battling with the 2 strikes. But Archer opponent average by situation. A good number there with the bases empty. 257. Runners on just 254. Scoring position just 216 and 2 outs in scoring position. Just 146. Pretty impressive numbers across the board for Archer.
And a chance from Matt Wieters, 1st and 3rd and 2 down. And a swing and a miss. Now Wieters is certainly due, Mike. He flied out his first at bat, so he's 0 for his last 15. And he does not have an RBI in his last 11 games, plus 1 at bat here tonight. Chance to get 1 back on Archer. Archer, by the way, has thrown 8 wild pitches. And that's low, 1-1.
You know, you're talking about Chris Archer and pitches thrown, but the 9 of 19 1-run games or less. That's why Archer's pitch count jacked up over 110 pitches per game. Last 9 starts, he's had 6, most in Major League Baseball. So they're not scoring him any runs, so he's got to stay in there a little bit longer.
Wieters to left field. That's playable for Geyer. And Archer's going to get out of it. Geyer puts it away. So the Orioles get 2 on after 2 down and strand both. Mid-4th at Tropicana Field. Gallardo back to work, trailing 3-1. Presented by Mile One Automotive, offering you 20 convenient locations throughout the Baltimore area. Visit us in-store or online at mile1.com. Night game tomorrow, an hour earlier though, 6 o'clock. They have concerts on Saturday night after the game here, so 6 o'clock we'll be with you. And then on Sunday, 1 o'clock start on WJZ as well. That'll close out this race series.
Who's playing the concert tomorrow night?
I don't know. Bret Michaels.
Poison?
Poison. But I don't think he's with Poison. I think it's just him.
Yeah. You going?
No. Well, I mean, we'll already be here. You would just have to stay. This ball's ripped down the line towards the corner and is foul. Just foul. Miller nearly hit it out.
Ooh. Keep giving him a run every inning. Miller just hooking that one down the right field line.
Miller has been on base twice. Gallardo, 3 runs on 7 hits. He's also walked 4 in the first 3 innings. Just off the plate.
One of those calls, right? That would help if we could get an inch or two. Might entice some hitters to get a little more aggressive up there.
Held off the other way, so it's 1-2. Vani has just 1 strikeout to go with those 4 walks. See, again, Wieters is trying to help him, but he's setting up off the plate. And if he hits the glove from Lance Barksdale's view, it appears on outside and he doesn't get the call. But they do that by design, trying to get the hitter to chase it, and they're not chasing it.
Oh, absolutely. But that outside corner was just attacked 3 different ways. So you can't give yourself too much of the plate. Got to work the edges. And I think it's fine. I think Gallardo just trying to cut the 4th pitch actually in there. You can't set up too much on the plate, that's for sure.
And that time Matt set up a little bit closer to the corner. So had he hit the glove, that might have been called, but instead it's fouled off by Miller, so another prolonged at bat. Rays have done a good job of that tonight. And here's a 7th pitch in this at bat. Right field, not that deep. Trumbo moves in on it. And he has it for the out, and Gallardo finally retires Brad Miller. The Orioles have announced a new promotional giveaway that you won't want to miss. Saturday, August 20th, first 25,000 fans 15 and over at the game against the Astros will receive a Crush Davis bobblehead. This unique collector's item features the Oriole slugger dressed as his superhero alter ego, along with his trusted sidekick, Samson. This item will become an instant fan favorite, so don't miss out. Orioles.com or 888-848-BIRD. Crush and Samson. First ball swinging is Longoria to Adam Jones. And 2 men down, and Gallardo says thank you very much.
Yeah, you like to see that. After a long time working on Miller to get the first out. Like to see some swings early on. Good job to get the second out right there, and perfect timing as well.
Morrison worked a walk in the first inning. It was a 10-pitch at bat to get that walk, and then he bounced out to end the second. Tampa Bay has stranded 7 men in this game on bases. And 5 of the 7 have been left in scoring position. So Gallardo, even though he trails, somehow he keeps getting out of these jams, and he's kept the Orioles in the game.
Yeah, and that's what you have to accept. As long as a pitcher is keeping the team in the game, really, what more do you want, right? I mean, love a shutout, love a complete game shutout, but give the offense a chance every night. Good things will happen.
Yeah, that was a borderline pitch, and Barksdale's just not giving him that outside corner. Late on the swing. 2-1.
High cheese. How about that? 29, 29, 19. Quick inning would certainly help. But first two, some trouble. Bases loaded a couple times.
Popped up foul wide to third. Manny in the shift. Long run. Won't get there, and it bounces. And that time the shift works against the Orioles as Machado, if he's at third, probably gets there, makes the play.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure. But nice job by Gallardo here to get right back into the count.
So not much success against Giovanni. Just a couple of hits. And the 2-2 bounces, ball 3. Can Giovanni get Morrison and have his first 3-up, 3-down inning? And the 3-2 is swung on and bounced to first. That's a fair ball. Davis has it. And Giovanni Gallardo does have his first clean inning as Tampa Bay goes 3-up, 3-down. We'll head to the 5th. Birds come to bat, down by 2.
Inside the numbers says the O's have the advantage over the Rays this year. 7 wins, Rays just 2 wins. Look at the runs per game and the team batting average, of course. Orioles dominating 297, 235, but the pitching is what separates teams, and the Orioles bullpen has been outstanding. .63 against the Rays when the Rays bullpen has typically been very good. 4.50 against the O's. Orioles putting some big numbers up against the Rays this year.
And Archer tonight has held them to a run on just 2 hits. The Orioles have had just 3 base runners through 4 innings. Harvey takes high, 1-0. Alvarez and Rickard will follow. JJ flied out his first at bat. He got hot at the end of the first half. Prior to the break, he brings a 7-game hitting streak into this game. Borderline pitch and a called strike, 1-1. So Archer's been around the plate a bit more, and he's getting his share of those borderline pitches. Gallardo is not.
Yeah, Archer seems to be more in the attack mode. Looks pitching here at the Trop. He's a very impressive 2.70 earned run average. A lot of W's, but completely deals here. His whip here at the Trop, 1.182. On the road, it's 1.706. So he just has better command. Doesn't walk hit as many hitters here.
It's his 3rd start against the Orioles. He's 1-1. He lost at Camden Yards and then pitched real well here to beat him. Soft line drive to center field. That'll fall for a base hit. Now that's a situation, Mike, where the pitcher made a good pitch and Hardy was fortunate. That ran right in on him and he just didn't make enough contact to get a leadoff single.
Yeah, breaking ball that was supposed to be down and away, and it backs up on Archer, and Hardy, a solid approach, pulling the hands in tight, able to sneak a single up the middle.
Looked like it was right off the end of the bat. And here's Alvarez, responsible for the Orioles run. His 10th home run in his first at bat. Made it at the time a 2-1 game. Left center field. That ball carries. Geyer back on it. That ball is off the wall. No call yet. Hardy around third, heading for the plate. That ball is in play, and it's an RBI double, and it's a one-run game. It just missed going out. Finally, Ted Barrett, the third base umpire, signaled safe that the ball was in play.
Yeah, there's got to be a check here, though. That might have gone up and over. It kicked back hard. Take a look. Beautiful piece of hitting. Off-speed pitch that he just takes the other way. Oh.
It hit the yellow on the top.
Missed by an inch.
That was a real good job by Bobby Dickerson and Hardy, not waiting for the call. They just kept going.
Well, definitely can't anticipate here, but a great look as it goes off the top. The fence right on the yellow line.
And the line is there to help the umpires see where the top of the fence is. And it has to go over. Had that bounced the other way, it would have been a home run.
Yeah. Pretty impressive piece of hitting, though, by Pedro Alvarez after hitting that 439-foot shot straight away center field. Backing a pitch up and driving it. Missing another home run by less than an inch.
So Pedro gets an RBI double. Good base running by Hardy as he comes all the way around. And it's a one-run game. He just did miss a home run. But the Orioles, down by a run, have Alvarez at second and nobody down. But Pedro with 2. Ribisi now is 28. And here is Joey Rickard, the number 9 batter. Pedro both at bats jumping on the first pitch. Rickard to center field, not that deep. Alvarez will tag to draw a throw, doesn't go anywhere. Kiermaier didn't believe he was going anywhere either. So Rickard can't advance the runner, one down. That is one thing that really has plagued the Orioles, Mike, a good part of this year, moving runners up in situations like this.
Yeah, there have been some situations, and I think the Orioles aware of the situations they need a little bit of help in. Getting a guy over, one, obviously getting runners in from third base, I think is pretty important, but at times hitters get a little bit in between in this offense because it's pretty much an aggressive offense. A lot of times Buck just says, you know, do what you feel, and for the most part, hitters just want to swing. They want to drive the ball. Like a situation that kind of tell. I mean, I had the sense that Rickard was a little in between what kind of job he wanted to do. Did he want to drive the ball with no outs or force it the other way? And he just got himself in between with lazy fly ball to center field there.
1-0 on Adam Jones, who has flied out twice. One time requested at the plate by the catcher Mailey. Orioles 22-13 within the division. Bucks team 18-22 on the road. They have gone 33-14 at Camden Yards. Off the end of the bat, shallow right field. That ball is trouble, but back on it is Forsythe. And Alvarez read it correctly, and he's back to the base, 2 men down. So Archer again makes a good pitch to get a big out.
Yeah, fastball riding in hard on Adam Jones. Jam shot over there.
Jonathan Scopo for 2. He has struck out and grounded out to third. The only ground out in this game. Center field. Now chases Kiermaier. Way out there on the warning track, he runs it down for the out. So the Orioles nearly tie it up on the Alvarez double. They had him at second base with nobody down, but it's a one-run game mid-fifth. Anniversary of the team's first World Championship, wearing special commemorative uniforms that were modeled after the '66 Birds. Now each player and coach's jersey and cap, plus replica jerseys from the members of the '66 team, have been autographed and authenticated and placed for auction. Proceeds will benefit the Orioles Charitable Foundation. Now the bidding will close on Wednesday at 10 p.m., so get online, Orioles.com/auction, and place your bids to own a piece of Orioles history. Gallardo back to work. He's retired 4 in a row. And he's coming off his first 3 up, 3 down inning. Here's Souza. There's 1-0. Orioles right in this game. Because the term is, Mike, Gallardo has bent, but he has not broken.
Yeah, absolutely. Fastball right there. And Archer's pitching a very good game here in the Trop. Orioles scratch a couple out. Gallardo's keeping them right there, which I think is huge.
And Wallace looking on. This will likely be his last inning if he could get through it because of the pitch count. It's way upstairs, ball 3. Dickerson and Geyer will follow. There's a good fastball, swing and a miss.
Really, the fastball seems to be Gallardo's big pitch. See Vance Worley back to getting loose in the O's bullpen, but a little extra life riding up through the zone there on the 3-1 heater.
Fly ball to right field. Trumbo is back on it, but has a play. And he puts it away for the out. So there's a nice comeback there for Gallardo. He was down 3-1 in the count. Giovanni is such a competitor, and you like that aspect of his game where he doesn't want to give in. But it seems at times, Mike, that aspect of it helps elevate the pitch count, because if he's not getting the chases, he gets deeper counts.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, you're right. You're absolutely right. So that's why it'd be nice if he could just maybe pick out a certain section of the lineup where he's just got to decide to be more aggressive, try to limit the pitch count, maybe eke out another inning. Because 5-inning stints, it's going to take its toll on the pen. It'd be nice if he could work 6, maybe eventually get up into 7, but it seems like this is what you're going to get. I mean, this is what happened last year. He averaged 5 innings to start last year with Texas.
Well, it will only be an 8-man bullpen until Tuesday in New York, because somebody has to make that start. And without a day off between now and then, they can't stretch out the rotation as Worley continues to get loose.
Well, they don't have many days off, like beginning of September.
Swing and a miss at the high fastball. Very effective pitch for him tonight.
Yeah, a little extra life. It kind of just rides up through the zone, almost like the rising fastball.
See, Gallardo 105, the season high. He needed 95 pitches to get through 5 innings against the Angels last Saturday. And a swing and a miss again. He went right at him and he got him.
Like that. Stay aggressive. Swung at it one time, try again. We saw on Pitch Track saying nothing in the box but climbing the ladder to get Dickerson for the second out.
Here's Brandon Guyer, 1 out of 2. He singled to help the rally in the third. 6 in a row retired by Gallardo. A little bit low, and again, he can't get the chase. Tampa Bay is last in the league in team batting. They're at 240. They do have 7 hits in this game. And they've out-hit the Orioles 7-4. Kevin Cash's team 20 games below 500. And because of the pitching depth that is perceived to be in their organization, this ball's towards the gap in right center field. Long run for Adam Jones, and he can't get it. It's beyond him and against the wall. Guyer is heading to third as Trumbo plays it back in, and there's a 2-out triple. Tremendous effort by Adam, but he just couldn't reach it.
Yeah, he was closing in on this baseball in a hurry. Must have missed it by an inch just at the last second. Reaches out and can't come down with it. Might have even got a piece of leather on it. Nice job backing up by Trumbo, but it still doesn't stop the Guyer triple. Take a look at Guyer, squares it up, and he knows it's going to be trouble. He's off. As soon as he sees it get by Adam Jones, he's cruising.
For ball 2. So 8 base hits, 4 walks, 12 base runners in 4 2/3 innings. And he wide of the bag at third, elsewhere straight away. There's a strike. It was a get me over fastball there, BP speed. Popped them up. Who's it going to be? Wieters or Davis or Gallardo? And Davis takes charge and he puts it away for the out and nearly ran over Gallardo in the process. So the 2-out triple doesn't hurt. We'll head to the 6th in a 1-run game. Orioles baseball on Masson is brought to you by PNC Bank, for the achiever in you, and by First National Bank, redefining convenience in banking. Lovely night outside Tropicana Field. Palm trees and the moon overhead, and Buck congratulating Yovani Gallardo getting through the 5 innings despite the high pitch count. He kept him in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was quite a battle. You're maybe telling why it was such a battle, but yeah, kept his team in there. Only 3 runs on the board. Chaz Rowe get loose in the Orioles bullpen.
Well, maybe the Orioles can score 2, and Gallardo be the pitcher of record on the winning side if he is in fact coming out. Here's Manny. Goes down by a run. Upstairs, ball 1. Archer 5 strikeouts. He's walked just 1, and the walk was left stranded. He's allowed the home run to Alvarez and the RBI double to Alvarez. That ball's trouble in the corner, and it's going to bounce in for a base hit and against the wall. And Machado's going to head to second base, and he has a leadoff double. So the O's get the tying run to second here in the 6th inning as Manny goes the opposite way.
Yeah, picking up his 30th double of the season, 2nd in the American League, and I don't know that there are many better at that. Fastball up and away, stays on top of it and whistles it down that right field line. Beautiful piece of hitting from Machado.
The big boys coming up this inning. So Archer, for a 2nd consecutive inning, has allowed the leadoff man to reach. Hardy singled last inning and came around the score. And here's Chris Davis. He has struck out and he has walked. Big healthy swing and a miss on 1.
Good pass. 90-mile-an-hour cutter down and in on Davis, but like it was on it. Good late movement though.
Shift is on against Chris, as always with Tampa Bay. And Archer steps off. The Rays starters are 21-38, but their ERA is 7th, so they're right in the middle of the pack. They were expected to be better than that. Of course, as you alluded to, Mike, they have some guys on the DL, including Alex Cobb, coming back from the Tommy John. There's a lot of wonder if the Rays will trade any of these starters. If they could sacrifice 1 starter to get a few other pieces of things that they need. Matt Moore goes tomorrow, Jake Odorizzi on Sunday, and even Archer's name has come up in trade talks, as has Drew Smiley, who will go on Monday. Question is, what would they ask for these starters? And a 1 on Davis.
Well, I'm sure they'd ask quite a bit. I mean, this Rays team, I'm sure they've done a lot of self-evaluating, but years past they kind of hang their hat on pitching and defense, and the defense has been really what's let them down this year. They've had some big injuries, but defensively not as reliable as they have been in the past. And it's not just about catching the ball, it's just knowing where the ball is supposed to go. And you're giving the starting pitchers and even the bullpen extra pitches, extra opportunities for opposing teams, and it's really hurt this team.
Yeah, for the folks that watch his team every day, they say the range is not what it needs to be, in particular with this fast turf. The 1-2 to Davis is a called strike 3 on the inside corner. So Archer gets a call and Davis is retired.
Malay wanting the fastball down and away, but it shoots back across the plate, but still the height very important. 94 miles an hour down and in, locking Davis up.
It looked like, in watching that replay, Davis thought it was low. And Barksdale gave Archer the call. Here's Trumbo. So Manny at second now with 1 man down. Archer with 6 Ks. He's been able to strike out Davis twice. downstairs. Get a look at our league leaderboard brought to you by Coons.com. Over 2 million vehicles sold and counting.
Now, how about the home run rate? At bats per home run. Trumbo leading the way with 12.4. Impressive number there. Frazier 12.8. And then climbing up to Davis at 14.4.
Tight nearly hit him ball 2 at 95 miles an hour.
He's coming in hot right now. Got the open base. Machado double. 3 fastballs. Inside corner. At least trying to get it in there. A couple up and in there on Trumbo.
There's a lot of room in left center field. Kiermaier shading over towards the right center gap. Swing and a miss.
He's made a lot of mistakes with that cutter. Locating it very well down in the zone. And a perfect pitch to Trumbo after 3 fastballs in. Opens up the outside corner, but down and away. A better spot.
Trumbo gets a piece to stay alive. So Mark will see a 6th pitch in this at bat. Pedro can't wait to get back up there. He's driven in both Oriole runs. DHing tonight. And a base hit into left field. Manny got a slow start. He had to make sure that got through, so he gets to third. And the Orioles have first and third, just 1 down. What an at bat by Trumbo. Battling, and gets a base hit.
And then he just scalds this baseball. It is smoked by the diving Miller. It was quite an at bat. And finally a mistake on the plate. This ball is whistled. 1 hopper. Machado has to freeze just past the diving effort, but I even think if Machado gets a great jump, he's not going to be able to go. Ball hits so hard.
And we saw in that replay that Manny was only halfway to third and Geyer already had the ball. So the tying run is at third. Go ahead run at first with 1 down for Wieters, who has flied out twice. On the corner and a called strike.
Now that's the pitch Matt's been trying to get for Gallardo the whole ball game.
In the dirt, nice block by Malin. We mentioned the 8 wild pitches of Archer on the year. Anytime you get a runner to third, that's the column you're drawn to. Malin, very, very solid defensive catcher.
Yeah, beautiful block right there. Quickly got to the knees, squared up to the baseball, kept it in front.
Manny talking to Longoria. Trumbo on at first. He's the go-ahead run if he could get around. 1-1 on Wieters. Up and away, ball 2. Archer retired the first 7 batters. Then Alvarez homered. He then retired the next 4 before he walked Davis and Trumbo singled in the 4th. And then he gave up a run in the 5th on the Alvarez double. Wieters had a pretty good cut, but fouls it back 2-2. The Orioles in this game, they've gone 3 up and 3 down twice. They were the first 2 innings. They've had base runners in each of the last 4. Machado at third, the tying run. Trumbo at first, the go-ahead run with 1 down and 2-2 on Wieters. And this is where the strikeout ability of Archer comes back to help him. Bouncer towards the hole. The tying run will score. Throw the second out there. Back to first. Not in time. And we are tied at 3. 2 slowly hit the turn 2, even with Wieters running. And Matt, by putting the ball in play, gets that tying run in.
Absolutely. Good things happen when the ball gets put in play. You think it might be a double play ball with Wieters running. Miller, nice job kind of cutting down the angle. But Wieters sniffing out that tying run, hustling down the first base line. Trumbull getting the high fives with the third run for the O's.
So here's J.J. Hardy, who singled and scored his first at bat. And again, despite all those opportunities and base runners, Gallardo gave his team a chance to win, and we're back even at 3. And right in there for a strike. So Archer had a 2-0 lead, then a 3-1 lead. And the Orioles have come back to tie it. Real good pitch there, swing and a miss, and it's 0-2.
Throws it so hard. You get that kind of movement, that much velocity, pretty impressive.
Off the end of the bat, shallow right, long run in for Souza. And he gets there and runs it down for the out, and the inning ends. But the Orioles scratch out a run. They scram 1. We'll head to the bottom of the 6th. New game. We're tied at 3.
It's time for Yellowwood. Oh, Gallardo getting hit around a little bit. Forsythe slapping one the other way. I'm on Melee. Forsythe with the knock. Miller and hitting it hard. Morrison picking up a knock back through the middle. Melee picking up his second hit, and Geyer choking up and shooting one to right field. This time beating Jones deep. How about 8 hits on the board as Gallardo exits the game? Yellowwood bringing the lumber. How about Gallardo's pitch arsenal? Fastball 33% tonight. The breaking ball, he went to it 59% of the time. He battled through 5 innings, scattering the 8 hits and the 3 earned runs. Tie ball game right now as Chaz Rowe enters the ball game. 4.50 earned run average. This will be his 4th appearance for the O's this year. Opponent's hitting 200 overall.
And he gets ahead of Luke Maile 0-1. Maile, Forsythe, and Miller 9-1 and 2. Rays scored in each of the first 3 innings. They did not score in the 4th or the 5th. They have left 8 men on through their first 5 at-bats. Ball hit towards Hardy, gets a big charity hop. And 1 down on 2 pitches here in the Tampa Bay 6th inning. Fans, you can follow Orioles baseball live with the MLB.com at-bat app. Stay up to the moment at any moment with Game Day. Live game video highlights, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com at-bat, the #1 app for live baseball on your phone or tablet. Holding Forsythe, his 4th at-bat. He's got a couple of hits, 1 drove in a run, and he singled and scored in his first at-bat. Strike on the corner, 0-1. So Gallardo will have his third consecutive no decision. But somehow he kept the team in the game, and now the Orioles have come back to tie it. Real good slider there, 0-2.
That was ridiculous. That was like one of those balls with the holes in it, moving like that. And Chaz Rowe got on a roll last year with the Orioles, and he was a dominant arm out of the bullpen. He was featuring stuff like that. Nasty slider, firm fastball.
Chaz last worked last Friday, so it's been a week. He pitched 2 scoreless innings against the Angels. Upstairs, 2-2. Forsythe has seen Rowe only 3 times. He's 0 for 3 against him. So with the Orioles getting this game even, their bullpen will look to keep them in. And the Orioles, over the first half, had the second best ERA from their bullpens in the league, trailing only Kansas City. Tampa Bay still has Archer in the game, but they've been the opposite. They are 14th out of 15 in bullpen ERA. Swing and a miss at an off-speed pitch.
Ooh. That is a nasty breaking ball right there. He takes a little off 81 here and just gets more rotation. And this ball breaks about 3 feet across the plate. Looks like it's going to go right at the front corner of the plate. And just dive bombing down and away. Nasty pitch. Big strikeout there for Chaz Rowe.
So 2 down. Nine of the last 10 Rays have been retired. Only the triple by Geyer with 2 down in the 5th getting in the way of that. Brad Miller came over from Seattle. He's back in his home state of Florida. Grew up in Orlando, and then he played in college at Clemson. Drafted by Seattle in the 2nd round in 2011. It came over this past November with Danny Farquhar and Logan Morrison. It was a 4-for-2 deal with Seattle.
Yeah, some of the players they brought over from Seattle to help bolster the offense. You see the numbers there. 43 home runs in his 4 seasons. So putting up some homers here. 14 for the Rays, but defensively maybe not as much range as they anticipated. Miller at short. You talk about this turf field being so quick. You better have somebody that can cover some ground at shortstop.
So a 2-out walk on 4 pitches. And Chaz Rowe will go to work now on Evan Longoria. We've seen Rowe 6 times, and he's 0 for 6 against him. And there's a strike on the inside corner. Low. Rays have been pretty impressive tonight in laying off borderline pitches. They've had a lot of pitches go their way by not chasing.
and they're really selective on Gallardo. Teams that show the patience will typically have ball games like this. It'll be an early exit for Gallardo. The pitch count will get jacked up.
There's a breaking ball that bends in there for a strike. That one looked like it fooled Gallardo, as if he was thinking, there's no way he's coming with another breaking ball.
Right? Yeah, and his breaking ball, if it starts on the plate, it's probably going to end up being a ball running off. The only time it's going to be a true strike is if he's throwing it right at you. You got to have the guts to keep the front side in there. Hope it's not a heater.
All right, so Rowe has thrown 3 straight breaking balls to him. Will he dare throw a 4th?
Why not? It's nasty. It really is. And he's changing speeds with it. He's got a softer one, a harder one.
He did, and he got the call. How about that? 4 straight breaking balls, and Longoria looking out there thinking, you got to be kidding me. So Chaz Rowe comes on the 2-out walk, but he gets the strikeout as that one broke in, and he got the call. We're through 6, tied at 3. High-value dental and vision benefits to area employers and individuals. Smile, it's Friday. And he loves his O's. Sparse crowd on hand here at Tropicana Field. They continue to have trouble drawing here at the Trop. And here's Pedro Alvarez, who's having himself a night. Solo home run, RBI double for the first 2 RBIs. Wieters got the game tied on an RBI groundout.
Yeah, all those numbers for Alvarez on 2 pitches.
And Archer says, okay, you want first pitch fastball here.
Yeah.
Right at the Orioles on your jersey, on the Baltimore. And so the Orioles wearing the black alternate jerseys tonight, as they do each and every Friday night. And there's strike 2 and 1. There's Erasmo Ramirez. And the new daddy getting loose in the Orioles pen. Missed 2-2.
Oh, that is a tough pitch. I don't know if the Oriole hitters can see the spin or not, but you don't see many cutters coming in 90 miles an hour. This one's some quality ones. So tough, especially down and into the lefty. They're swinging over the top of strike 2.
Pulls it to first, backhanded there by Morrison. And he'll take it unassisted. And 1 down here in the 7th inning. For every Orioles walk, CareFirst Blue Cross Blue Shield contributes $50 to support the Be More for Healthy Babies The Orioles have drawn 265 walks for a total of $13,250. Care First Blue Cross Blue Shield encourages each of us to take that first step towards a healthier and a more active lifestyle. There's Joey Rickard, who is 0 for 2. Playing in left field tonight. Hyun-Soo Kim sitting it out with his tight hamstring. Showalter said before the game that they'll wait until at least Sunday to see if they can avoid DL time for Kim. But once they get to New York, if he's still unable to play, they may have to DL him to get another player. Upstairs, 1-1.
Yeah, frustrating for Kim. You know, he was the Iron Man over in Korea. Never missed a game. I was talking to his translator the other day, and did he ever have a hamstring problem before? He said, yeah, he did one time, but they have Mondays off in Korea, and he said it healed on the off day or something like that, or it felt better, and he was able to play the next day. So he never missed any time.
Well, that was what the thought was here since he heard it on Sunday. It was in his first at-bat running down first base on a ground out, that with the 4 days off he might be able to play, and I guess he did participate in the workout yesterday and was still a little tight.
Yeah, looks like it's still bothering him a little bit.
And a strike taken, 2-2. Look at 5 hits in his last 6 games. And he's batting .352 in his last 23 games. Chopper to short, charging there is Miller. Throws on the run and scooped up by Morrison.
Well, quite a pick right there by Morrison. Miller making the play on the run, and probably had a little bit more time to set his feet, but we've seen him play now a number of games, and he does not mind throwing off balance and on the run, but helped out his first baseman.
He's got 13 errors on the year. He might want to rethink that.
Yeah, you're right.
Even with Rickard running, if he planted there, he still had time.
Yeah, I like the way you're talking, the fundamentals. Yeah.
I've been around you for
Got to get your feet underneath you, right?
Adam Jones 0 for 3. Slice down the right field line and fading back foul.
Pretty efficient game for Archer. Had his struggles this year. Not so much here at the Trop, though, other than not having any wins or many wins under his belt. He'll get plenty deep into the ball game. Velocity on the heater, nasty slider.
Jim Hickey is pitching coach. He's in the middle. Popped him up right off the end of the bat. And there's Longoria in a 3-up, 3-down inning for Chris Archer. 7th inning stretch at the Trop. We are tied at 3. Well, we got a good one here. Bottom of the 7th. Orioles trail 3-1. Have come back to tie. And here's the new daddy on the pitch in the 7th.
Michael Givens, good fastball, 61% of the time, mid-90s with the heater, slider, occasional change. Lefty will see the change. 6 wins, tied with Brock for the major league lead. Opponents down at 245 average.
And he misses low to Logan Morrison. Souza on deck, and then Corey Dickerson. It's inside. Of course, this has been a challenge for Givens this year, facing left-handed batters. And he'll face 2 lefties in this inning.
Yeah, just trying to find a way to sequence his pitches. Get lefties off balance a little bit. He's been able to change up a little bit more, but definitely not his better pitch. Primarily just fastball slider, but finding how to sequence those 2 pitches to keep the lefties off balance. They're hitting over 400 off Givens this year.
404. There's a strike, so 3-1. Lefties are 19 for 47 against him. Righties batting just 173. And there was some thought with Donnie Hart joining the team today that maybe they become a combo inning duo. And just outside ball 4, and there's a leadoff walk in a tie game. Well, we hope you can join us tomorrow. More O's action. Chris Tillman will take the mound against Matt Moore. Our coverage on MASN 2 begins at 5:30 with O's Extra presented by Jeep, and then game coverage at 6 o'clock. We've got all the access you need right here on MASN.
We'll take a look at tomorrow's starters. Tillman, 12 wins in the first half. The Orioles ace going against Matt Moore. Moore's earned run average 4.46. Orioles been able to get to him this year as well. Hasn't picked up a win in 2 starts. Run average up to 5 against the O's.
Souza showed bunt, and the pitch nearly hit him. 1-0. That is very frustrating for a reliever who comes into a tie game and immediately puts the go-ahead run on the road by a walk.
Well, it sure is. I mean, Mike's got it in his head a little bit. The lefties have been giving him a little bit of a problem, so tentative attacking them. All forgotten if it's a ground ball double play right here.
Yep. And instead he popped him up shallow center. It's an easy play for Adam Jones. And 1 down. Back to first goes Morrison. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Orioles. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Orioles. Now, those fans here at Tropicana Field. And Givens will go to work on Dickerson now. There's a strike on the corner. Good pitch. Dickerson is 1 out of 3. He singled and scored in the 3rd. Tampa Bay has not scored since the 3rd. Davis holding Morrison. A swing and a miss came right at him.
Well, he can get some life up through the zone. You know, Darren O'Day has his Jenny Finch pitch, the rising fastball. He plays off his 2-seam sinker, and Givens can work that pitch as well. Nice job. You see him executing down and away, and then riding the heater to the top on the pitch track. A lot of swing and misses and weak fly ball outs up there at the top of the zone.
O'Day rejoined the team here in Tampa. He went to Sarasota for the break, so he can continue rehabbing the hamstring there. He threw a side session yesterday, and today he was out in left field simulating PFP, pitcher's fielding practice. Fouled off, look out. And you know he's anxious and getting close because Richie Bancells was actually the one putting him through the PFPs to make sure that that hamstring responded.
Yeah, good. Well, that's good news. That's encouraging.
Those are good numbers. Once he gets ahead, he's 0-2 on Dickerson.
Yeah, those 50 strikeouts. So 8th relievers.
And that is a foul ball. Nearly hit it down the line for a base hit. Machado well wide of the bag on Corey Dickerson. Jones shading a bit towards left center on Dickerson. And roller foul. So another prolonged at bat by a raised batter.
Fouling off some tough pitches. Dickerson protecting the top of the zone. Gave him a couple good heaters up there. He slapped foul to keep the at bat alive. You're down 0-2. Do what you can. He's doing it right now.
Line drive caught by Davis. A step on the base, and that'll end the inning. How about that? A mistake pitch at too much of the plate, and Dickerson hits it right at Davis for the 3 unassisted double play. So that leadoff walk does not hurt. As Gibbons comes back, the double play ends the 7th.
Geico highlights from the Trop. First game after the All-Star break, and Alvarez sees the first pitch and deposits it 439 feet away for the first run of the second half. And then how about the double off the top of the wall after a J.J. Hardy single. And Manny Machado picks up his 30th double of the season, and Wieters drives him in with a ground ball to shortstop. Rays can't turn the double play. Orioles tie the ball game 3-3. Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com for a free rate quote.
Well, Archer stays in. He's at 102 pitches. And here is Scope. Goes after the high fastball, 0-1. Jonathan 0 for 3. He's got a 9-game hitting streak on the line. Deep left field, back it goes, and the O's have the lead with authority for Jonathan Scope. Number 15th, and folks, that's his 100th base hit on the year with authority. And the O's lead at 4-3.
Man, Scope getting on the slider, the hard slider down in the zone. Gets out of here in a hurry.
And another $500 for our Maryland Lottery contestant of the game, Juna Pursley of Sparks. Youthful enthusiasm and a 10-game hitting streak. He crushed that ball to left field. Manny first ball swinging, skies at the center field. And Kiermaier has it one away.
Well, the Orioles great late in the game team. 7th inning on, they're leading all of baseball. 147, make it 148 runs scored. Jonathan Schoop, the solo shot on the slider down in the zone. Woo. Jonathan Schoop, impact player for the O's.
So Archer will leave. He can lose this game. He cannot win. And another frustrating game for Chris Archer, who's having just one of those years where something always seems to happen. Cedeno coming on to face Davis. The O's now in front.
Inside the numbers, Chris Archer in his pitch arsenal comparison, much what he's done all year long, but 7 1/3 innings, getting deep into this ball game. But the Orioles late inning heroics once again. Schoop with the solo shot to knock Archer out of the ball game. He'll give way to Xavier Cedeno. Numbers for Cedeno, looking for his 4th win. This will be his 36th appearance. Another earned run average up over 4 for the Rays, holding opponents down to the 245 batting average.
Jonathan Schoop's home run has given the Orioles the lead. Swing and a miss, Cedeno to Davis. Chris has struck out twice. He has walked. He's had 3 plate appearances. Has not been able to put the ball in play. And a good take there. And upstairs.
Maybe a tough lefty is what Chris Davis needs to see. Keep that front side in there. Cedeno's going to feature a lot of cutters, a lot of curveballs to the lefties.
Got under it. He got a hanger and he got under it there. A mile out of right field. And sticking with it, looking up into the roof, is Souza for the out. 2 men down.
And you know he's frustrated about that. Breaking ball hovering up at the top of the zone at 78 miles an hour. It's a little big on it.
Chris Archer frustrated. And twice had leads of 2 runs and couldn't hold it. So the difference in this game, Mike, is Giovanni Gallardo not allowing a crooked number inning, even though the first 3 innings he really struggled. Just a single run in each of those first 3 innings that kept the team in the game. The Orioles still have to get 6 outs, but now they have the lead.
Yeah, but that definitely was the key. I mean, the bend but not break. Talked about earlier in the ball game. That's exactly what Gallardo did. I mean, bullpen was active in the 3rd inning. The 2nd inning for the Orioles. Gallardo had 58 pitches thrown, I think, in the first 2 innings.
Yep. Brad Brach is up. In fact, as Schoop's home run landed in the seats, the Orioles bullpen is in left field as well. I saw out of the corner of my eye, he immediately jumped up and started getting loose, knowing he was going to work the 8th with the lead. Hanger with pulled foul by Trumbo, so 1-2 the count. Trumbo's got a 2-hit game going. There's some power there with those 3.
Yeah.
Pedro saying, mine still went farther. I ain't mine to center field. Popped up this way. Almost. See, Schoop is telling Manny, now look, here's how you hit a home run.
Right.
Come on, Manny, listen to me. Here's how you home it.
Yeah, you know they're going at it like that too.
Weak ground ball towards 3rd. Longoria gobbles it up. He throws on the run. And retired is Trumbo, and that'll do it. But the Orioles get the lead. Jonathan Schoop's 100th base hit of the year is his 15th home run, and the O's lead it 4-3. Well, we head to the bottom of the 8th. The O's are 6 outs away from getting a win. Lead at 4-3, coming back from 3-1 down in the 3rd. And here's the all-star setup man, Brad Brach.
Yeah, Brad Brach has been dominant the first half. See the 6 wins, .91 earned run average, 58 punch-outs for Brach in the first half, holding opponents down to just a 155.
Joey Rickard has moved from left field to right field. Nolan Reinhold now in the game. He's in left. Mark Trumbo is out of the game. Inside 2-0.
Good pitches right there.
Brock has 6 wins out of the bullpen. Givens has 6 wins. And Givens is the pitcher of record on the winning side if the Orioles hold on here, so that would be his 7th. In the meantime, Brock has fallen behind 3-0. There's Alex Colomé. He is the closer. And he'll get loose just in case they somehow get the lead here. And there's a strike right at the knees. Geyer taking all the way. It is the lower third of the Rays lineup here in the 8th. Kiermaier on deck and then Mahle. Towards Hardy at short, plays the hop, charges nicely. 1 down. There's the footwork you were talking about, Mike. He saw it was softly hit, so he moved in on it to play the hop.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, J.J. reads the ball off the bat about as well as anybody in the game. But nice job coming back by Brad Brach, falling behind. Executing a couple good pitches there. Nasty fastball to jam Geyer.
There's Kevin Kiermaier. Ripped but foul. Look out in the bullpen.
Man.
Nearly hit the back of one of the bullpen catchers. Kevin Jepson with a big smile on his face. Was up last that he gets back up.
He's happy he still has a catcher there.
Bouncer to Davis. Tough in between hop, and Chris makes the play. Wow.
Yeah, got himself a little in between with the read that keeps his feet going. How about that? That's what you love to see. Get the feet going, be able to make the adjustments. See if he can drop step. No. Able to get the short hop. Nice play by Davis.
So 2 down, and we're going to get a pinch hitter. Here's Oswaldo Arcia, who joined the team when Tampa was in Baltimore. And he's pinch hitter for the catcher Mahle. So Kevin Cash sends up a possible home run threat in this 1-run game, which means this will be a 2-for-1 switch. Kirk Casale, the other catcher, will have to come on and catch the ninth. Foul back out of play. Catwalk above and down below. If you're a fan of Tropicana Field, you have to pay attention on every foul ball, because there are so many nooks and crannies, things that it could deflect off of. You think it's way over your head to come down and hit you.
You're right. All kinds of things up there.
So Kevin Cash has going there. It'll be Jepson if the Orioles hold the lead here. It'll be the closer Colomé if they tie it or get the lead. Upstairs, ball 2. Brad looks a little too strong. He did not get into the All-Star game, which I'm sure was a disappointment, but still an honor to be selected for his first half. And he probably was one of those guys that was told, if we get to extras, we're going to need you.
Yeah. See Brad get in there. Pretty dominant first half. Got a nice little roll as well.
I enjoyed watching the pregame ceremony when the players were introduced and seeing him tip his cap.
Yeah.
He has really made himself into a star relief pitcher. Foul back. And you talk about a 42nd round draft pick that the Padres basically gave up on. And Dan Duquette and his scouts, they saw something in him and they took a chance. And of course, he's mastered the changeup since he's been here, but he also throws 95, which I don't think he was throwing in San Diego.
Yeah, he locked into something, made some adjustments. Yeah, he's on his game, and he's been pretty dominant for the last couple of years.
Swing and a miss. He got him. So Brock comes on, and the All-Star has a 3-up, 3-down 8th. So we will head to the 9th. The O's come to bat looking for insurance. Brock strikes out Arcia to end the 8th. Just like we promised earlier in the game, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. I think Mr. Scope is involved in this.
Oh, yeah, he got on the hanging slider, and he destroyed it. Sent it deep to left field to give the Orioles the lead.
But Kevin Jepson comes on the pitch. He just joined the Rays today. He was let go by Minnesota. Ironically, Tampa Bay had traded him to Minnesota, and he just was having a tough time with the Twins. They let him go. So he came here, and they gave him a major league contract to come right to the big leagues because their bullpen has struggled so much.
Yeah, they needed some help for sure. We see the rough numbers that he put up with Minnesota. Earned run average over 6.
Gets ahead of Wieters 0-1, and Curt Casali comes on the catch after Maley was pinch hit for. Wieters, Hardy, and Alvarez here against Jepson. Popped him up right side. Logan Morrison waits, and he has it foul ground for the out. And one away. Orioles baseball on Masson is brought to you by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. You can't drive that fast. There's the closer, Zach Britton. Coming off his save in the All-Star game on Tuesday that secured the home field advantage for the American League in the World Series. Here's J.J. Hardy. And there's a strike.
Jepson's got some good stuff. You see the mid-90s fastball. His curve and change to go along with it, but it was the command and control that got him into some trouble in Minnesota. Reunited with Hickey will help him iron out some of the mechanical flaws.
That pitch had so much movement. JJ tried to check, and he swung around even though the ball bounced. And he's down in the count 0-2. Dirt won't chase. Now the Red Sox are playing the Yankees tonight, so they're in the division. Boston had a 5-0 lead. It's now 5-3 with the Yankees batting in the bottom of the 8th with the tying run at the plate, Jacoby Ellsbury. Toronto begins its second half on the West Coast. They are in Oakland tonight. Boston and Toronto began the day 2 games back of the Orioles for first place. Another one in the dirt. It's 3 in a row. And he was fortunate. Hardy was fooled on the first one, and he swung for strike 2. His last 2 badly in the dirt.
Yeah, can't make the adjustment with the breaking ball. Take a look at that. First pitch fastball, went center cut, and then 3 breaking balls all spiked in the left-handed batter's box.
Towards the middle, but there's Forsythe in the shift. Hardy's retired and 2 men down. Visit MassonSports.com/CareFirst to vote for tonight's CareFirst Fearless Player of the Game. Live fearless with the name trusted for over 75 years. CareFirst Blue Cross Blue Shield. And Chris Davis with his glove should get some votes. Pedro Alvarez with his home run and RBI double should get some votes. And number 6 will probably get a lot of votes. For the game-tying home run.
Pedro's numbers. Pretty good, aren't they?
If you go back to June the 1st, in the 21 games since then, he has gone 25 for 73, which is a .342 batting average, with 7 home runs and 17 RBIs in the 21 games. And you like to see that ratio. You have about an RBI per game you're producing.
Oh yeah, that's impressive. We talked at the end of the first half about this is as strong a team as Bucks had as far as bench, the depth. He can turn around and see and trust everybody because everybody's had success. Everybody's numbers have really been consistent and solid.
In the dirt, he won't chase. Well, and he's had to do it where he only starts against right-handers, so he's having a great game tonight. He'll be right back on the bench tomorrow because Matt Moore's pitching. Right now, I'm glad we're indoors. There's some scary sounded thunder going on out there. Tight 2-2. When the Orioles got here yesterday, it was a beautiful day. And then a storm rolled in the afternoon, late in the afternoon. And there was a beautiful rainbow over the harbor across the street from the hotel. Popped it up, got under it, center of the diamond. It's Longoria in the shift, and the third baseman puts it away for the out. Jepson in his return to the Rays has a 3-up, 3-down inning. Well, here we go. Bottom of the ninth coming up. The O's are 3 outs away from a win. Raining outside. Nice and cozy for Zach Britton inside.
Orioles with the 4-3 lead over the Rays, and calling on their closer, Zach Britton, all-star closer. Got the save for the American League. Take a look at his pitch arsenal. Fastball 91% of the time. The dominant heater has led to that .72 earned run average and 27 saves in his 27 opportunities. 43 punch-outs, 37 2/3 innings of work. And how about that? Opponent batting average just 160 overall.
Top of the lineup for him. Here's Forsythe. And it's outside 1-0. Miller on deck and then Longoria. Forsythe's 2 hits came in his first 2 at-bats. He scored in the first, drove in a run in the second. And strike right there, 1-1. The All-Star game closer picked up a save. Tough play for Schoop. Backward spin. Plays it perfectly and gets Forsythe at first, 1 down. That is such a tough play, Mike.
Well, it really is. Maybe one of the toughest plays in baseball. That second baseman, a little slow roll. The angle is so tight. And here, the little chopper that Jonathan Schoop has to get the short hop on. Throwing it back across the field with some touch as well. Nice play for Jonathan Schoop.
See Jonathan looking over at Manny. There's Manny's critique in the play that he just made. Way upstairs on the breaking ball. 1-0. Slipped out of his hand.
Yeah, let this breaking ball go a little too soon. Up and over the head. Wieters barely getting a piece of leather on it.
Of all the Orioles relievers, Zach is pretty much on regular work since he did pitch Tuesday in the All-Star game. One and one on Miller. Outstanding off-speed pitch. You rarely see him throw that, and Miller was way out in front.
Yeah, well, starts him off with a breaking pitch over the head, and then two of the nastiest curveballs you're going to see, located down and away. Tight break. How about that rainstorm?
Right field off the end of the bat. A long run for Rickard. He's not going to get there, and it's in for a hit. And Miller's going to get to second base with a double. That was unfortunate for Zach. He made a good pitch, and right off the end of the bat, and Rickard wasn't able to get to it.
Maybe he went to the well one too many times with the breaking ball. This one just kind of staying on the plate just a hair longer and allows him to get the bat head on it. Ball checks up, and he hustles into second base.
So Miller's 14th double, his 32nd extra base hit. More importantly, the tying run in scoring position with one down. Evan Longoria 0 for 3 with the walk. He has 5 hits against Zach in 19 trips. And Dirk gets away from Wieters, and that puts the tying run at third. A double now, wild pitch.
Now spikes this one. Really not a lot Wieters can do. He's out in front of home plate, and it just kicks up over the head. Backstop. Oh, standing at third.
Zach got in both wins against the Angels last Saturday and Sunday and picked up a save in each. And now with first base open, Longoria will be walked to set up the chance for a double play. Ball 3.
I think you have to do this for sure. Zach Britton's ground ball rate around 80%. A tough lefty-lefty matchup.
He has 3 forced double plays, 26 opportunities for double plays. And here's Logan Morrison. So a double play can end it. Morrison has seen Britton 3 times. He is 0 for 3 against him. Bunt attempt, and he fouled it off. It was a safety squeeze. Miller wasn't coming.
He might have broke his finger right there. Wow. Squares around, little safety squeeze, and that ball catches him on the hand. He pushes at it. Shaking it out a little bit.
It's one of those you wonder if he was doing it on his own, just trying to get it down and get that tying run in.
Right.
And Barksdale now is going to dust off the plate to give him a few seconds to regain his composure.
Well, he's having a hard time gripping the bat with that top hand.
Swing and a miss. 0-2.
That's the sinker there. Dive bombing down and in. And the lefty. Tentative maybe. Swinging after taking one off the knuckles. The bunt attempt.
You see Wieters, he looked over towards the bench. John Russell, the catching coach, calls the kickoffs and steps offs and pitch outs. Swing and a miss. He got him. 2 men down. A 3-pitch strikeout, and the first strike was a gift on a foul bunt.
Oh, a couple nasty fastballs. Great location. Nice call. 97 there under the hands. Late movement. Down and in to the lefty. That is filthy.
So the Orioles are not away from a real good win here. Steven Souza Jr. is 0 for 4, but he does have an RBI and a ground out. Britton has seen Souza only twice, but Souza's 0 for 2 against him. So double a wild pitch. They had a runner at third, 1 down. The intentional walk, down the strikeout. And the Orioles are not away from getting out of here with a win. One. 97 with sink.
Yeah, so hard to be patient off Zach Britton. These fastballs look like they're going to be center cut heaters, and the movement just is amazing that it drops that much just in front of home plate. Commit to your swing because he's throwing so hard.
Down and away, 1-1. Here's Miller. He's the tying run. Buck Showalter walked a potential winning run to set up the double play. Longoria is the winning run at first. And we've seen Buck do that several times, trusting his pitcher Britton. Fouled it off, just barely got a piece, 1-2. Time was requested at first base. Rocco Baldelli asked Angel Hernandez for time, it looked like, and then the third base coach Charlie Montoyo went over to Miller, the runner at third. A ball and 2 strikes on Souza. First and third, 2 down in this 1-run game. And the dirty lays off, 2-2. In his last 4 save opportunities, Britton has allowed hits in 3 of them and a couple of walks in another. Swing and a miss. He got him, and the Orioles hold on and win it. Back-to-back Ks after the intentional walk, and the Orioles a big win as they come back from 3-1 down and win it by the final of 4-3.
Yeah, pretty impressive fastball here, darting down and away to get Souza. Game on the line. One of the best closers in the business right now.
So Jonathan Schoop's home run broke the tie, and the bullpen did the rest. We hope you can join us tomorrow, game 2 of the 3-game series. It'll be Chris Tillman on the mound against Matt Moore. Our coverage on MASN 2 begins at 5:30 with those extra presented by Jeep, and then game coverage at 6 o'clock. Now for Mike Bordick and our entire hardworking crew, Jim Hunter saying so long from Tropicana Field, where the Orioles win it, Baltimore 4, Tampa Bay 3. Tonight's telecast has been a massive presentation. Tom and Rick, the happy recap. Stay with us. O's Extra comes your way right now.